Alright, so welcome back everyone to a new video. It's a new last Epoch video. Today we're going to be talking about crafting. As I promised before, I said I was going to make a video about crafting, a more in-depth guide on crafting, and here it is. Alright, so let us start. To open the crafting menu, just press F. Pretty easy. You take any item, you put it right here. So let me start by explaining a few things. Each item has its implicit stats, which are up top, like the 113 armor. And then it has affixes, which are down on the bottom, like the 46% increased skeletal mage damage and stuff like that. Those are called affixes. There are two types of affixes: prefixes, which are the two right here, and suffixes, which are the two right here. Now prefixes and suffixes, so in these spots, in the suffixes spot, you can put specific shards, specific affixes, and in the prefixes there's going to be other shards, so other affixes. They're not going to be the same affixes. So mostly the suffixes are like defensive affixes, and the prefixes are mostly like damage, offensive, stuff like that. Alright, so up top you can see the forging potential. Now forging potential, you always want to have as much forging potential as possible, because forging potential means that you can upgrade your item. So each time let's say you want to upgrade the lightning resistance, you come here, you press this arrow, and you want to upgrade the affix. So it's going to cost from 1 to 12 forging potential. So it's going to use up some forging potential. So if you have 0 forging potential, you cannot upgrade any of the affixes anymore. That is why you will always use a glyph of hope. Always upgrade with a glyph of hope, and you'll have an abundance of glyphs of hope. They just drop a lot from mobs, so don't worry about that. Always use them. And what glyphs of hope do, it grants a 25% chance to have no forging potential cost. So there's a 25% chance that you will not use any of the forging potential you have. So always use a glyph of hope. Okay. So I should have explained before. So if I want to upgrade poison resistance, down here there's the tier. It's tier 1. It can reach tier 5, and every time you upgrade it, it's gonna go up in tier, and more tiers equals more poison resistance, and so on and so forth. To upgrade poison resistance, you have to have poison resistant shards, specific affix shards, and those drop randomly from mobs. You'll have a ton of them, as you can see here. Whenever you have any affixes in your inventory, just press this, and I don't have any in my inventory, but if you press this, it's all gonna go to a separate inventory, which can hold a lot. So you can see these are all the affix shards I have. So you see poison resistance, you can see the type, it's a suffix, and I have 60 shards of poison resistance, which is right here. So I can basically upgrade it as much as I want. So let's say here I upgrade it, that costs 3 forging potential, and now it's at tier 2. Now sometimes you may upgrade an affix, and it may either upgrade another affix, just you get lucky, it'll upgrade another affix by 1 tier for free, or it'll jump 2 tiers. So you may upgrade this for just 1 tier, but instead of going to from tier 2 to tier 3, it's just immediately gonna go to tier 4. So you basically get 1 tier for free. That's it for the basics. Now let's dive in a little bit deeper. So if you press here, you'll access the glyphs. We've already talked about the glyph of hope. Now let's talk about the glyph of chaos. So glyphs of chaos. They are important if you know how to use them, or I should say when to use them. So let's say you're capped on lightning resistance. So you have 75 lightning resistance. Well, I have 70, but let's imagine I have 75 lightning resistance. Now you don't want to go up more than 75 in resistances, because if it's more than 75%, it's just not going to matter. So let's say I'm maxed out on lightning resistance, so I don't really need lightning resistance. So I can use a glyph of what's it called, chaos. This will replace this affix with a random affix, and it will also change the tier. It'll also upgrade it by 1 tier. So you upgrade it and you change the affix. So right here it's lightning resistance. Now it's health regeneration, and it's tier 3 instead of tier 2. And so let's say I wanted health regeneration, so that would be good, and now I can just upgrade it normally like this. Now it's T4 and so on and so forth. Okay, so for our next glyph, this is a glyph of order. Okay, so each tier, so let's see here, this has tier 2 poison resistance. So let's say each tier has, so tier 2, you can either roll it to be, the item would have from either 10% poison resistance to 15%. That's the numbers it can roll on in tier 2. So in tier 2, it can either be from 10% poison resistance to 15%. And so now we got 12%. And let's say for tier 3, it can go from 16% to 30% or something like that, for example. So if I use a glyph of order, it's gonna give me the highest roll possible for that tier. So if the highest roll for poison resistance on tier 3 is 30%, I'm for sure gonna get 30%. So let's see here, I upgraded it. It's now 19% poison resistance. So 19% was the maximum it can get in tier 3. Now you could still have upgraded it to tier 3, but it would have rolled maybe like a 17 or 18%. So you just maximize the upgrade for each tier, basically. Hopefully that made sense. It's a little bit complicated, this one. Now the glyph of despair. These are one of the rarest glyphs to drop. As you can see, the numbers right here, I only have 2. Be sure to hold on to these for really, really, really important items, because you don't find a lot of these. And what this basically does, so you can only have 4 affixes on an item, but if I use this item, I'm not going to use it right now, but the poison resistance, it will get locked in a tier 3, but you will have another empty spot. So basically you could have you would have 5 affixes instead of just 4. Okay, and since it's in the suffixes spot, it's going to be a suffix. If I were to use it on this or this, it would be a prefix. We would have an open spot for prefixes. Alright, so if I use this, it's gonna lock me out of, I can't upgrade poison resistance anymore, but there's a whole nother empty spot right here, which can be used to add another affix. So when would I use this? I'd use this if I had a really, really good item, and I would want to make sure that if I were to use it on poison resistance, that poison resistance would be a tier 5, fully upgraded to tier 5, and then I can seal it and put another affix. And of course you'd want to use it on, like, if you really needed poison resistance or health regen, you'd use this on it. Okay, I end up destroying the last item. So another thing we have down here is runes. They're basically like glyphs, but they do other stuff. You also apply them when you're about to craft. So for the first one, we got Rune of Shattering. So it's gonna destroy the item, but it's gonna give us a random amount of shards from each of these ones. So I may get a random amount of void resistance shards and a random amount of cold resistance and some mana and some dexterity shards. Now I may not get any void resistance shards, but I can get like cold, mana, and dex, or I can only just get mana shards. It's just random. Next up we have the Rune of Refinement. This rerolls the values of all affixes on an item, so within their tiers. So let's say, as I've said before, I already explained the tiers. So let's say cold resist. Let me just use it. So cold resistance is currently at 15%. Void is at 35%. We got 13 mana. We got 7 dexterity. Now we got 7 dexterity. Dexterity stayed the same. We got now 11 mana, 43 void resistance, and 19 cold resistance. So it changes the rolls on for each tier. It can either be good or bad. So I mean, I wouldn't really rely on this rune. Maybe use it if if you just want to gamble the item. If it's not really that important, I would use it. Now, Rune of Removal. This is really good if you really want a shard. So let's say I really want some dexterity shards. So what this will do, it will remove a random shard. So either one of these, they will be completely removed, the whole affix. But let's say this is tier 5 void resistance. If this gets removed, I will get 5 shards of void resistance. This is important to remember. Depending on the tier, I will get the amount of shards. So tier 3 cold resistance, I'm gonna get 3 shards. So let's say this item is really good, but I'm capped out on cold resistance. So I don't really want cold resistance. This is kind of a risk because it's only a 25% chance that it will remove this, because it may remove any of these. Let's see if we get lucky. No, it did not remove the cold resistance, and so that failed. But let's say you removed the thing you didn't want. So you removed one, and now you have an empty spot right here, which you can put any prefix on. So let's say, I don't know what that was, I forgot. Let's say we removed it. Now I can put dexterity, intelligence, whatever I need in there, and I can use that multiple times on the same item. But since I don't have forging potential, I can't use it. So grab this. See, I used it once. It removed this one. So let's say I need damned, the chance to apply damned on hit. I need those shards. I don't have any shards of damned, and I need to apply it to another item. So I can keep using the Rune of Removal, so I can 100% get those 3 shards right here. You see, I got them. I got those 3 shards, and let's say I want to use them on this helmet, I can go ahead and use them on that helmet now. So you gotta be really smart about how you craft, and that's actually where the loot filter comes in. I'll give you a quick tip right here. So let's say you're looking for let's see here. You press escape, you go to to settings, you go to gameplay, you come down here and you manage loot filters. You create one. I already have one for Necromancer, so let's add a rule right here. So let's say I don't have any cold resistance shards. I want to upgrade my helmet and it needs cold resistance shards, for example. So I go to the filter, I go to affixes, cold resistance. Where would that be? I could just search for it, or I could go manually resistances and armor. Oh, here it is, cold resistance. Or I could just come up here and search for it. So cold resistance. And now I can just, where is it? I'm sorry, I lost it. Yeah, visibility. We can recolor it. We can make it, I don't know, green, for example. So now any item that has an affix that contains cold resistance, that has an affix of cold resistance, it's gonna be green. It's gonna be highlighted in green. So what you can do then is pick that item up, go to crafting. Do I have anything with cold resistance? Oh, well, this has cold resistance. So I need cold resistance for another item. I put the affix in. You see now it looks green, so it dropped on the ground. I know this has cold resistance, so I pick it up, put it in my crafting, use a rune of removal. Oh, well, this has 0 forging potential, but you get the idea. I use the rune of removal. I get the cold resistance shards, and I use it in the other item. Alright. We're almost done. Just a few more left. Rune of discovery. Let's put this right here. So, well, we need an empty spot for that first. So let me empty the spot. So what this does, it does not cost forging potential, first of all, unlike the other runes. So you're not using any forging potential, but you cannot use it if the item has 0 forging potential. So it's not gonna waste any forging potential, but you still cannot use it if the item has 0 forging potential. So let's say we have an empty spot right here. I don't need to use a glyph. So we have an empty spot for an affix, and instead of manually adding whatever affix, I can use this. It's a bit of a risk, but it has an increased chance of rolling rare affixes. So rare affixes would be like kind of like this: the 43% increased critical chance and 43% increased minion critical strike chance. This is all in one affix, so one prefix. That's considered one of the rare ones. So this is where this would come in useful. So how many do I have? I got 34, so I can use it. And it's always, unfortunately, it's vitality. I don't think that's one of the rare ones, but it's always gonna roll it in tier 1. Sorry, I'm a bit sick. So it's always going to be tier 1. It wouldn't be tier 2 or 3, no. But it has a higher chance of rolling rare affixes. Okay, now we got Rune of Shaping. So remember, I said the item has its implicits up top. So this basically just has a chance to re-roll those implicits. So this one's not really complicated. And it re-rolls all the implicits. So not just one implicit, all of them. Okay, we got Rune of Ascendance. Now this one is really, really, really good, and it is really, really, really rare. So I'm not sure if I want to use it right now. So if you played the game a bit, you know there's I would say normal items, and then there's unique items and set items. The unique items, they're not always better than the normal items. I mean, because with the normal items you can have crazy affixes. With the uniques too, but like, where is it? I had like this one. I upgraded the, let me put it right here. It has tier 5 minion health. So look at that. It's 213% increased minion health. I think some uniques offer that, but with the normal items you get to choose mostly what kind of affixes you want. Now the unique items have crazy affixes and crazy upgrades, well, you can't really choose all the affixes they have, but if they're good for your build, they can be really, really, really good, and a lot of builds will use them, especially high-end builds. But yeah, so going back to the rune, so let's say I got any tier item. It's a normal item though, not unique, not a set item, nothing like that. It could be a silver ring, just a normal silver ring, or it could be an exalted. I think, yeah, it could be an exalted. So I put it in here. It needs to have forging potential. I'm not sure if it uses forging potential, honestly. But so what it's gonna do to this item, it's gonna turn it into a random unique amulet or a set item amulet. So it's gonna be a really good amulet. Maybe not for your build, or maybe not a really good unique amulet. It's still unique after all, so I mean it depends on what unique you get, but yeah, it'll basically turn items into unique items or set items. The set items are basically items. So if I have, see, this is Pebbles Femur, and this is also Pebbles Bite Marks Hash, and this is also Pebbles Collar. So they're considered the same set. So when I got a set of 2, I get a plus 5% chance, blah blah blah. And if I get a 3 set, I'm gonna get another upgrade, which is your summon skeleton, spells and attacks deal plus 42 fire damage, whatever, so on and so forth. That's what a set item is. But yeah, so you could turn a silver ring into a unique or set ring. Alright, and so for the last rune, since I didn't have it on my account, I just pulled it up on the internet. So what it basically does, it duplicates the item. So you'd have the original item and a copy of that item, but it reduces the forging potential of both items to 0. So I would use this on uniques, or a really good item that you may want to use on another character. Same thing goes for the unique. Alright, that was it for the crafting video. I tried to make it as compact and as fast and quick as possible, because I don't really believe that guides should be that long. Unless it's PoE, then you need millions of hours. But yeah, you get the point. Last Epoch is definitely not as complicated as PoE, but I think it's in a pretty good place. Yeah, I like it. I like the systems. I like everything. And yeah, that's it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Peace out.